Good afternoon, children. How are you today? I'm fine. Actually, I want to discuss with you something about the guests that come to our house. For example, if a guest comes to our house, we welcome the guest wholeheartedly, right? Even though if the guest is an enemy, what do? Even though we don't like, we just welcome the guest happily. But if we know that because of the guest there is some danger for us, then what do? We try to protect ourselves from the guest. If possible, we try to send the guest away or at least try to do some harm to the guest. But there is a conflict always in the mind that is a guest to us. That person or the person, whoever comes, they are the guest for us. So if they come to our house, we try to welcome the guest. But at the same time, if there is a danger, we try to send the guest away. In that moment, there is always conflict in the mind. And what do? Can we send or welcome? Send or welcome? This conflict actually is beautifully narrated by D.H. Lawrence in his poem called Snake. Today in our class, we are going to discuss about the poem called Snakes. But let me introduce first the lesson as well as about the poet. Let's just look into this monitor. That's a beautiful snake that you can see here. And let me introduce the person called D.H. Lawrence is the poet. We also call him David Herbert Lawrence. He's one of the most famous and influential writers of the 20th century. He was born on September 11 in England in 1885. His major contributions are The Rainbow, Sons and Lovers, Women in Love, and Lady Charles Lover. And this is one of the most controversial novel also. And of course, he died in France in 1930. Now, let me read the poem for you. Then I'll come to the discussion part. First, a snake came to my water trough on a hot day, and I, in my pyjamas, for the heat to drink there. In the deep, strange-scented shade of the great dark carob tree, I came down the steps with my pitcher and must stand and wait, for there he was at the trough before me. He reached down from a fissure in the earth wall in the gloom and trailed his yellow-brown slackness soft belly down over the edge of the stone trough and rested his throat upon the stone bottom. And where the water had dripped from the tap in a small clearness, he sipped with his straight mouth, softly drank through his straight gums into slack long body silently. Someone was before me at my water trough, and I, like a second comer, waiting. He lifted his head from his drinking as cattle do, and looked at me vaguely as drinking cattle do, and flickered his two-forked tongue from his lips, and mused a moment, and stooped and drank a little more. Being the earth brown, earth golden from the burning balls of the earth, on the day of Sicilian July, with Mount Etna smoking, the voice of my education said to me, he must be killed, for in Sicily the black snakes are innocent, the gold are venomous. Now, let us stop reading up to here and let me just go through the poem once again. Now, look at this particular verse. A snake came to my water trough on a hot day, and I in pyjamas for the heat to drink there. Can't you see beautiful imagery in that moment? Can't you guess where the whole scene might have happened? Yes, of course, it was a very hot day and it was near to a water trough, probably in the garden or outside the garden, where the snake came to drink water, and the protagonist, the writer, the protagonist also joined there, wanted to go there to fetch some water for himself. And of course, it's a very, very hot day and he was in pyjamas. That indicates the imagery of hot summer clothing. and they both went there for drinking the water. Let's see. In the deep, strange center shade of the great dark carob tree, I came down the steps with my picture. So, if you can imagine that part, you can see the protagonist was walking down the stairs, probably into his garden, and there at that corner, and I must wait, must stand and wait for there. He was at the trough before me. That means somebody was there, some person was there. He refers to a person. And actually, in the first verse, we can say, a snake came. But here the poet is referring to the snake as he. What does it mean? He is trying to personify, giving a quality of the human being to the snake. That makes he is giving equal status to the animals as well as himself in his ideology, in his thoughts and feelings. Now, he just decided he has to wait for that person, the guest, to drink and go. And let me continue. Later part. He reached down a fissure in the earth wall in the gloom and trailed his yellow-brown slackness. See, he just crawled very slowly. The snake crawled very slowly over the edge of the stone trough and rested his throat upon the stone bottom. There he just rested like this. And there what is he? And where the water dripped from the tap. The big conflict comes. Someone was before it my water trough. Someone was there. And I am waiting as a second comer. I am waiting. That means the poet is giving a beautiful imagery of that somebody is waiting in the queue. Someone was there. Most important person was there. Probably the unwanted guest. The snake was there before him. And now, let's continue the rest part. See, the guest has come from the earth brown, earth golden, from the burning bowls of the earth. That means the hot sun. And you can see on the day of Sicilian July with Etna smoking. That's a beautiful imagery of the hottest day in Sicily, in Italy. July is the summer of Italy, as well as Etna smoking. The volcano of this Sicily is smoking out. That intensifies the hotness of the area. And at that moment, they both came to drink water. And look at the conflict. Here is beautifully introduced the conflict. Let's say, the voice of my education said to me, he must be killed. The snake must be killed because my education says snakes are dangerous. For in Sicily, black snakes are innocent. The gold are venomous. That indicates my education saying to kill the snake, whereas my human nature is saying me to wait and let the snake drink and go away. This is the conflict continued in the later part of the story, which we will see in the next class. Thank you very much.